Hey everybody, another pure vlog today. So I want to talk about risk taking and drinking beer. Risk taking and drinking beer, they're kind of related. So I assume that a lot of you watching might be younger than me. I'm in my mid 40s, and so I've experienced and done a lot of stuff that many of you young guys probably have not done. Well, guaranteed. I can guarantee there's many things that you have not done yet. So here is something, 2 points of advice that I wish was given to me when I was in my early 20s or younger. So number one, when it comes to beer drinking. Now, of course, you get 18, or I guess in the US, whatever, 21, depending on where you are, what state you're in, I guess. You get excited about getting drunk. Ooh, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it can be a lot of fun, but when you drink, really try, and I know this is reaching, try to consider what might happen if you get out of control. This could be, you could get yourself killed, or a whole bunch of other stuff that's not nearly as bad, but when you get older, when you get to my age, you'd be going, oof, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Another thing about beer, I would strongly consider, instead of going for the run-of-the-mill beer that you see advertised on TV, and it's funny, if you look at those ads, if you look and pay attention to those ads, you'll notice that those ads are talking to you, young beer drinkers, people new to the game. They're not talking to guys like me who've been through that already. They're appealing to you, show you how much fun you're having, drinking beer and hanging out with ladies and nice cars and how cool it is. And they're creating this image. It's kind of like a hypnotize. They're trying to hypnotize you into thinking that drink their beer, you're going to get the ladies. That's not true. If you want to get the ladies, you gotta do what you gotta do to get the ladies. That's usually being charming. And drinking a lot of beer and being charming doesn't usually go together. But when it comes to beer drinking in of itself, let me tell you, and I'm not a big beer drinker. I drink maybe once every 3 months. It's not my thing. But I can tell you what, better to get more expensive craft beer from a microbrewery that's really tasty. And there's some great beers. It's like a pleasure to drink. It's not like, right, the typical beer from a bottle or a can, especially from a can. And you get the microbrewery draft beers, and you can go where they give you all these tasters, and you're not necessarily there to get drunk. You're there to taste amazing beer, and some of these beers are just really, really good, very refreshing, really, really good stuff. So instead of spending $20 on a bunch of beer, I say spend $22 and get a less microbrewery but really cool beer. And you know what? If you're looking to impress the ladies, that would be much more impressive to the ladies that you become a connoisseur of different types of microbrewery beers, than you just get hammered all the time and pass out drunk. So when you're considering anything that you do beyond drinking, goes to business, you have to consider the risk and the reward. That's a big part of running any type of business, whether it be a startup, whether it be a lemonade stand, whether you're selling bananas. You have to consider the risk versus the reward. So before a business owner takes an action, before they initiate a new project, put down the money, make an investment, you consider, okay, what am I putting down? What is my risk? Can I recover from this risk? How bad it will hurt me if it doesn't work? Because you always have to go into any business activity with the expectation that it won't work. Of course, if you're sure it's not going to work, you're not going to do it. But you gotta, even if you believe 100% it's going to be the greatest idea ever, go in there with the expectation it's not necessarily going to work. So you got to consider the risk. What is the downside to doing this? And if the downside is too great, given the upside, then I wouldn't do it. There's plenty of opportunities out there. When you start opening your eyes, trust me, there are plenty of opportunities out there. So you're better to be a little bit more cautious, evaluate things a little bit more closely before leaping in. So that's whether to decide to get really drunk one night and then do something silly after that, or whether you decide you're going to get into some sort of new business venture where you're risking a lot. Now, that being said, when you are younger, when you are in your 20s or even early 30s, and you got no responsibility, you got no family, no wife, no kids, you are in the best position to take the risk because you can recover after that point. Because if you're my age and you're taking crazy risk, and then you hit 50 and then you're broke, that's a tough thing to bounce back from, although some people have. But if you're 22 or 25 and okay, I'm going to take a risk for the next 4 or 5 years, try to push the startup through, see what happens. Hey, you don't make it at 30, you know what, you got a tremendous experience behind you and you can try something else, If at 35, you're still struggling and you might want to try a less, ambitious, Hail Mary type of business, adventure. You might want to try something a little bit more balanced, if you will, because you got to be mindful of as you get older, you got to always try to put a little bit on the side. That's something I recommend. Every month, try to put at least 10% of your money, even if it's like $20. Just get in the habit. It's important to get in the habit of putting money aside. So you get in the habit of always putting money aside, and you put money into that stash I told you about in a previous video, the FU stash, the untouchable money. That's separate from, of course, retirement and just your normal spending money. Anyway, so there you go. Risk. Consider what you do. Consider the downside, whether it be a business venture, whether it be get stupid drunk one night, whether to speed or to blast through that red light like an idiot with your car. Think of the risk versus the reward. For me, to blast through the red light on a big intersection because you're in a hurry or because you're having fun is the stupidest move you could possibly make, because you could kill yourself, you could kill somebody, you could find yourself in jail, you could ruin yourself. It's not worth it. Just stop. Just stop. It's like 20 seconds. Just stop. That reward of that sparing you that 20 or 30 seconds, it's not worth the risk in that situation. All right. I hope this pure vlog is interesting. Ciao.